Shapril Preston.
Hi, you guys. Welcome back to another episode of So You Graduated Now What? Whether this is your first episode or you've been tuned in since the beginning, I am so excited to have you here. I'm always so excited. And I feel like every week we really get into something that is really dire to me. And I'm praying that it's dire to you guys because we're all trying to figure this out. We're all trying to figure out what's next. So before we even jump into today's episode, if you haven't, go check out last week's episode. I want to give a little bit of a little story about what happened. So last week we talked about networking. And y'all, why this week did I find myself at like 3 different networking events? I literally was like, you can't stay in bed. You have to go. Like, get up. Don't sell yourself short. I ended up getting up, going, and you guys, I met some good people, and I was like, wow, old me would have stayed in the bed, would have talked myself out of it. And it wasn't until I started doing all that research for last week's episode that I really understood how to go into a place and network. And so now I'm just really excited. So if you have not checked it out, please check it out and let me know if you plan to use some of the tips, let me know because I want to know that it's not just working for me, but working for you guys. So yeah, just had to go ahead and talk about last week's episode, but you know why we're here today. Today we're talking about one of the most dreaded things, work-life balance. One of the most controversial things as it relates to Gen Z, i.e. me and my people. So I just wanted to really get it. So look, I got my little hoodie because it's a little cold here in Chicago. I got my little matching glasses and I got me a pink cover for my iPad. And I got an iPad right now. You know how serious you got to be to have an iPad out? Very serious. If you're an iPad stan, you know. When I pull the iPad out, it's getting serious. So we're just going to jump right into today's episode. So we're just going to start with the basics. What is work-life balance? Is it really achievable, etc.? So work-life balance is really the state of an equilibrium between your personal life and your work life. Think about this if you just graduated and maybe you were a student leader or you were an athlete. It's kind of like a balance of how you would have sports, student leadership, whatever the case, and classes. But now it's with your personal life and your work life. So just jumping straight in, I want to start by saying I don't think there is any perfect work-life balance. There will be a perfect work-life balance for you and what you and your manager or whoever comes up with as what is perfect. So why is work-life balance even important? Number one, because if not, you're going to drive yourself crazy. Just like simply put, like, why do we try to make all this stuff be rational? The rationality is if you don't have work-life balance, you're going to drive yourself insane. Simple. Very simple. I'm looking at y'all who be at work stressing yourself out for no reason. But on a serious note, it's important because it impacts a lot of different things. For instance, your relationship with your job, your relationship with your home life. It could easily impact your job performance. It could go over things like your physical health, if you're not taking care of yourself, your mental health, and all those things are important because at the end of the day, you have to have a good job performance to keep getting paid. You need a physical health, for obvious reasons, good mental health for obvious reasons. You don't want to neglect your relationships professionally or personally because of work. So, do we all see why it's important to have a good work-life balance? Okay. Now, let's be clear. Work-life balance is not how much you can travel, how much you can be outside. Work-life balance is as simple as what do your weekends look like? What do your weeknights look like? Are you sending emails at 10 p.m.? Are you at your friend's bridal shower on a Saturday, sending emails, picking up phone calls? You get what I'm saying? It's not about those big things. Yes, the big things like traveling and all those things are important and they are a part of it, but work-life balance is how you balance your everyday life with your work. Before we can get into things to do to keep your work-life balance pretty healthy, let's go over some things that really make your work-life balance unhealthy. Because we need to focus on what's going on before we can jump into there. So now here's why I'm about to start looking at my handy dandy iPad, because I wanted to get a lot of research. And I want you guys to know that's something that I do for a lot of these episodes. I talk to my friends who are recent college grads. I talk to older people who have been out of college for a long time. And I also do a lot of research and I take a lot of notes. So if you see me look down a few times, that's what I'm looking down at, is our handy dandy pink iPad. Number one, the first thing that could cause a bad work-life balance is if you have too many responsibilities in or out of work. If you literally are doing everything and carrying your whole team on your back, neck, shoulders, and you are in organizations and you do community service in your neighborhood and you like to go out and maybe you have a part-time job and maybe you do social media and you have all these different things going on 24/7, how is your brain ever going to focus? How can you ever find a peace? I think the goal of work-life balance should be a good peace, where you're at peace with how much work you do and how much you do outside of work. To go into the next one, I think it could definitely be your hours at work. I want to be clear, the job that I do and the job that a lot of other people do are totally different jobs. So not everything that I say may apply to you, and everything that you may experience may not apply to me, vice versa, obviously. Because I know there are some people out here who work like 80-hour weeks, people who work 60-hour weeks. Really, if that's you and you're watching and you're hearing, my hat is off to you, because you are a strong soldier. I'm telling you, you're a strong soldier. And you need to think about things like that. So also think about the time of the year. Are you guys getting busier? Is the work coming more and more? Like if you work in finance, I'm sure tax season is pretty heavy for you. If you work in, like I work in sales, but I work in sales for a spirits company. So obviously, times like holidays, when people are drinking a lot more, is going to be more busy for me. You know, as opposed, like on the flip side, a lot of people do dry January. So that's more of a slow time of year for me, because people are intentionally not drinking. So think about how much are you used to working and how much that could change, etc. Because hours at work can cause a bad relationship. The next thing, increased responsibilities. Maybe you guys lost a teammate, or maybe you became a manager, or who knows, roles change all the time. And I don't think anything is wrong with roles. I think it's just a matter of having the responsibilities laid out for you and ensuring that you're doing things that are within your responsibility list. And I really, okay, if you're watching this and you're a little bit older, I really want you to come on the podcast. Like, please reach out, because I think as a Gen Z, my mindset is a lot different than people who come before me. And I think it literally goes into what I was just saying. Like, I'm not as open to doing things that are outside of my responsibility list. I'm a team player, so I usually can fill in the gaps wherever need be. But I know there are some Gen Z out here who genuinely, if it's not in their responsibility list, they're not doing it. And I just want to talk with somebody else, because like, what are the thoughts? Like, are we hard to work with? I don't feel like we are. I feel like it's just, we're very practical. And I don't think other generations like people who are practical. They want people who are going to do the impractical things for them. And that's just not us. It's just not us. I'm sorry, it's not us. And lastly, I think something that could easily cause an unhealthy work-life balance is if you are too eager to work. I feel like some people, that's so funny that I was just talking about Gen Z and then I turn around and say if you're too eager to work. But I mean too eager in a sense that like you literally just keep piling things on top of yourself and you never stop. It's one thing to be eager to work, to show up, to even over show up if that's the case. Especially I think when you're low down on the totem pole, it is great to show up and show face and, you know, be the team player so that you can work your way up. But that does not mean saying yes to every single thing that comes your way. That does not mean never giving yourself, like never saying no. That's not what that means. Being too eager is when you're like a workaholic, severe. Think of that scene in the movie Soul when the guy is just like on the computer and he's just crunching numbers. and you're just watching your life pass you by because you're so overly invested. Of course, I think there is a good balance between being invested in your company and showing up and showing out and doing way too much. And I feel like sometimes we can do way too much for our companies. Now that we've went through what is work-life balance, why is it important, and what can make it unhealthy, let's go through some things. First, we're going to go through in the workplace and then in your personal life that can help foster this relationship. Because like I said earlier, I don't think there is a perfect or a like cookie cutter answer to what a healthy work life balance looks like. It's definitely case by case, person by person, but I do feel like in this day and age that is something that we're really on the fence of. Is like, it's kind of like if you don't show up so much. Oh my gosh, I need to talk to somebody else, you guys. Literally, because as Gen Z, I be feeling like if you don't show up, it's like you don't care. And it's like, I don't care. It's not, wait. It's not that I don't care. It's just like, I could see where people don't want to show up in certain capacities of how you could be asked to, especially in those entry level roles. I am very blessed to have the manager that I have. Me and my manager are very locked in. So I think that is what we're actually about to get into, is some positives and the first steps you can do to creating a better work-life balance. So I found it here in my notes. Number one, see, I literally have it written down. Number one, accept that there is no perfect work-life balance, but you could work to create an ideal work-life balance. One of the things I would say is definitely finding a job that you enjoy or really like, or that you're really good at and you enjoy doing, because don't do something that you're good at just because you're good at it. For instance, I'm good at making flyers, but if I just had to sit and make flyers all day, it would really burn me out. It would really burn me out. It burned me out in college, and I know it would burn me out now. Like, don't do that, but do something that you enjoy. Because I feel like it's a lot easier to want to find work-life balance in a job that you enjoy. Because if you don't enjoy the job, it's going to be like, I don't know why y'all calling me on my day off. I don't know why y'all bothering me. I really wish y'all would leave me alone. I'm in that office. But if you at least like the job and you care about your team, and it's like, okay, this is cool, I feel like it's a lot better relationship building off the strength of the fact that you do actually like the job. Let's talk about at work first. So I think it's very important at work that you set manageable, attainable, actionable goals. All the time I'm talking about setting goals and making sure all these things are there. Don't put way too much on your plate. So that's the manageable part. Don't put 50 goals in at one time. Let's take it step by step, month by month, week by week, day by day. After you do that, attainable. Look at goals that are attainable and think about when are they attainable. Some things can't happen in Q4. They need to happen in Q1. Some things can't happen in Q2 because they need to happen in Q4. So think about things like that. And then actionable goals. So think about what are the steps to reaching this goal. And I've been seeing where people have been saying, stop telling yourself that you have 6 months to do X, Y, and Z. Tell yourself you have 3 weeks and watch how you get it done in 3 weeks. And then you're going to be like, dang, I was really going to take 6 months to do something I could have done in 3 weeks? Exactly. Don't sleep on yourself. You're like... You got this. So next, when you're at work, be efficient with the time you have at work. Don't be goofing off. Don't be on your phone. Don't be, I don't know, scrolling Instagram, scrolling TikTok. I don't know. Don't be doing any of that. Use the time at work for the time at work. Focus on work. And like I said, everything is going to be different for different roles, for different industries, etc. But if you're in a place where you're there and you're full nose deep in, okay, be there and be that. So when you go home, you're full into your personal life. My personal thing is, I remember one time I worked at this gym and the woman had told us, and ever since then, shout out to that lady because she really ate with this one. So when we were at work, we had the option, like we worked the front desk, and if you wanted, you could be on your phone. Like it wasn't a big deal. It wasn't no beef. So she had said one day, like, if I text you guys and you guys are at home, the least you can do is shoot me a text back, because how many hours do y'all spend at my front desk scrolling Instagram? And I was like, she ate y'all up. I always respond because I just feel like I always got my phone in my hand. So if it's a little quick response, I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm out of business hours, I'm not responding. Now, if you want me to get on a call or something, that's a little different. Hold your horses. But a little text, I do feel like people be dragging it with that, because a little text, a little 5-minute call, that is not going to kill you. That is just not going to kill you, in my personal opinion. Now, is that me not being healthy work life? I don't think so, because I know there have been times throughout my days where I'm like on social media, and it's like, if you can be on social media on your company's time when they call you on your time, like, the least you could do is pick up the phone and see what they want. So that's just my personal opinion, and I really use that from when I worked at the gym as an example, because that was a very good point. Like, you're sitting on the clock, scrolling your phone. So, like, the least you can do is shoot me a quick text back. Like, it's not going to kill you. And that was very valid. And I like that one. The next thing is going to be communicating, and honestly, in my opinion, over communicating. The more that your team knows, the more that your manager knows, the better the work-life balance will be. And that goes into how much flexibility you can have. If your manager knows what you have going on, they're more likely to help you, because now this is something as Gen Z I think about a lot too. Think about people who have kids or have some other big responsibility in their life. They have to have some kind of flexibility because they have other things that they are taking care of. Like, if they're taking care of a parent, a grandparent, etc., they have something else in their life that they have to take care of. So just because you don't have a kid, or you may not have somebody you have to take care of, there are other things in your life that may be very important to you. So it's about being flexible and communicating these things with your manager or whoever the case. And I'm not saying going up in there being nasty either. I'm saying doing it in a respectful way. Especially... Now, this will vary depending on your manager. If you have a good relationship with your manager, I feel like a conversation is all it is. If you don't have a good relationship, no, I don't really know how to navigate that one. I'm very blessed for the managers I have experienced in my entire working life since I started working. But I think it's just very important to, pull them to the side and be like, hey, like, I'm not really available after hours, specifically on these days. Like, I'm for sure not available. I'm not going to answer the phone. I'm not going to be available, point blank, period. These days I'm more flexible, etc. So it's about being flexible. I think it's about being understanding on both sides, because I feel like sometimes as the worker, we're a little closed-minded. So, like, think about that. Like, have you ever done something on company time that wasn't in your job responsibilities? You know what I mean? Like, no matter what it is, especially if you work remote, think about that. How many times have you done something like on technically company time, but maybe it was like between meetings or whatever the case, like if you were in office, you wouldn't be able to do. So it's like, if you can do that, like, you can give those people a little bit of time. So think about those things when you're trying to build that company relationship, work-life relationship, and then always give yourself a break. Like, when you're at work, I'm not saying you have to clock in at 9 a.m., clock out at 5 p.m., and be steadfast on work for all those hours. You're going to burn yourself out. I saw a lot of people who do that, like an hour on, 10 minutes off, an hour on, 20 minutes off. However it works. Now, I personally have never worked in a corporate America office, so I'm not as familiar with, how meetings go. Because I've always literally wondered, what do you do in a corporate office from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m.? I've literally always wondered that, because yes, you could be on meetings, but I'd be like, what kind of meetings are you on for that many hours? So really think about things like that. Like, be flexible, be over communicative. Is that a word? Over communicate. Like, that was so embarrassing if that's not really a word. Be flexible, communicate, be efficient when you're at work. When you're at work, do at work things and set those goals for yourself. And I feel like that's really where it works on the work side. Now, moving over to the at-home side, a good part of it can be to unplug. Now, if you're a stickler and you're a 9 to 5 babe, like you're 9 to 5 and you are tapped in from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. You're not on your phone. You're not doing anything else. You are doing nothing but company. Okay. So when you get home, go ahead and unplug because you just gave them from 9 to 5 a.m. Like, come on. You just gave them that. So I think it's definitely good to unplug. Now, personally, I think you guys, literally, like I said, everything is going to be dependent upon your industry. For instance, we host a lot of events and we do a lot of things like that. So if we're hosting an event on a Saturday, like if I'm hosting an event on a Saturday, I would hope that my manager would be by her phone in case I have a question. If my manager were hosting something on a Saturday, I would be like aware and, prepared for if she needed some kind of help or something like that. Because again, that is the kind of relationship that we have. And when she is going out of town or when I'm going out of town and we know it's like I'm not going to be able to talk situation, it's like, yeah, I'm not going to be able to talk no matter what. But also, think about the company that you're working at because some companies value PTO more than others. I feel like mine is one of those. Like, my company values PTO. When you're on PTO, you're on PTO. Put the phone off. Put the phone off. I know that's not PTO, but put the phone off. I don't want y'all to try to clock me and be like, girl, that's PTFO. I mean, oh my gosh, you guys, I am really... I'm not here today. Clearly, I thought I was like cutesy cozy here on my iPad, and I'm just chatting on this daggone microphone. So yes. Next, when you're at home, you need to prioritize your health. You need to be staying active and, doing things that are good to your health. Because the whole thing is with a bad work-life balance, one of the biggest things that can come out of that is being overly stressed. Overly stressed can turn into you being sick, can turn into you being in the hospital, could be turned into who knows what. So you need to address things in your health as they pop up. If you start getting migraines all the time, and you notice that you've been working 20 more hours and you've been 5 times more stressed, I'm sure those migraines have something to do with all that working you doing. You need to think about things like that. You really need to think about all those things. Don't deprioritize your health because you're trying to be a team player. Be for real. No, be so serious. Next, don't overcommit. Learn when to say no. And no is a sentence. No, period. But definitely if you're in a workplace, I understand all these things are very hard to navigate, especially if this is your first job, because you, of course, don't want to just be like, no. But you could always be like, hey, I don't think I'm going to be able to do that. Hey, I actually already have something else going on at that time, etc. Especially, I noticed one thing that my friend was telling me is that her company loves to put meetings like after, so their day ends at 3. And they'll put meetings on for 4:30 the day of the meeting. How do you know I didn't have something to do at 4:30? So in instances like those, it's like, yeah, girl, you lost me. You really, really lost me. So you really have to learn how to say no in a respectful way. Like, use that, I'm really not available or I can't make it this time, blah, 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 blah. But you have to learn when to say no because, again, that goes back to what can make a bad relationship is if you keep saying yes, 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 and never saying no, eventually you're going to go from maybe 10 things on your plate to 25. And then what does that go back to? Being overwhelmed. And what does that go back to? Not prioritizing your health. See how it's an ongoing cycle? I feel like work-life balance is an ongoing cycle. And if at any point you mess up a part of the cycle is now messed up. So you have to keep all these things in play at the same time. Next, I think it's great to travel. I think traveling gives for a great work-life balance. Traveling is usually one of the only times that I'm usually like completely hands-off. I try to be as hands-off as I can because, like I said, my company does value PTO. But what I am saying is, like, if I'm here in Chicago, usually I can pick up the phone because, like I said, I don't feel like it's nothing. I know you're not about to keep me on a 45-minute phone call. You would have made a meeting. But when I travel, that's a little bit different, especially if I'm going like a different time zone, et cetera, et cetera. catch me if you can. I'm the gingerbread man because yeah, but I think traveling definitely helps because you're giving yourself a time to unwind. And that is one of the most important. You have to give yourself time to unwind all the time. All the time. Anytime that you can, you need to give it to yourself. Don't, I'm gonna do it next year. I'm gonna do it next month. I'm gonna do it next week. You sound like the man. You know the man who I'm talking about? You're sitting on your couch. You're watching your life pass you by. That's literally who you sound like. Get out there. Travel the world. If you have the PTO, use the PTO. They didn't give it to you for it to sit there. They did not give it to you for it to sit there. Go on a trip. Come on. Get in Zen. Get in your Zen mode. I feel like the more times that you can take yourself out of the workplace and recharge, the better your work-life balance will be because you're literally decompressing and then, okay, I'm fully charged. Let's go at it again. Simple. Next, I think in your personal life, it's very important to spend times with people that you love and doing things that you love. Don't get so caught up in work that you're not seeing your cousin, you're not with your favorite sister, you're not seeing your parents, you haven't made a painting in 5 years, you haven't went running, you stop doing everything you love because the whole thing is if you look at people who do have a healthy work-life balance, all the things they love, they still do. All my coworkers, they run, they spend time with their kids, they go to their kids' games, they're everywhere. They do the things that they genuinely enjoy doing. So why would you not do the things you enjoy doing? Right. There is no reason. There's literally no reason that you shouldn't be doing the things that you love. So definitely do that. So now that we've kind of went through what you can do at work, what you could do at home, let's talk about a few things that kind of just overall play a part. One of the biggest ones is really just setting boundaries. I feel like this can go in work life and in real life, set the boundaries. Like if your boundary is going to be, I'm not working outside of working hours, you have to set that in a respectful way. But also you need to set that on the flip side with people in your personal life. Like when I'm at work, I'm at work. You get what I'm saying? So you just have to set boundaries, understand what your working hours are going to be. Like I said, I work in sales and my job is more dependent upon what my accounts need, not necessarily like when the company needs me. I go based on what the accounts need. So if the only time I can see them is at 7 p.m., I got to be there for them. I got to be there. So always think about your job. I feel like a lot of people can relate to this. Like if you work in like government and stuff like that, I feel like hours differ. And also think about at the same time talking about PTO and stuff like that. Think about like, cause if you're a teacher, you get the whole summer off or you get spring break. Use that time to really decompress. I don't get that. I wish I could have a summer off. Like good vibes. And I just think all of it really boils down to being open, being honest, being flexible, like communicate and make sure this stuff is documented. Like email this, like you can have the conversation and then follow it up with the email. If you're not available, like Monday evenings, like I cannot stay after for Monday evening meetings. Go ahead, talk to your whoever about that and then send an email. Hey, thanks so much for, having that time with me. Like I had mentioned, I'm not available Monday evenings, but we'll always look forward to hearing the meeting recap or something of that nature. Y'all, it's not about being mean, nasty, spiteful, but definitely work-life balance can be something very hard to attain because especially if you're like recent grad and you're young, it's really hard because you're fresh meat, in my opinion. Like you're fresh meat. So like you gotta be there, you gotta show up. But I think there are good ways to balance the two. So today was a shorter episode because this one is very to the point. Like you really have to be okay with like stepping up for yourself in a sense, saying, I can't make this, I can make this, this is how I feel, blah, 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 and finding some kind of working relationship because at the end of the day, you don't want to spend too many hours at work, but you also don't want to spend too many hours not doing the job that you're paid to do. So think of all these things. If you have any tips, I would love to hear them. I feel like I do a pretty good job of work-life balance. Like I understand when I'm at work, I'm at work. When I'm not at work, I'm not at work. But like I said, I am more of a flexible person. Like I said, there are times when I do both. Like I don't mind picking up the phone. I don't mind being a team player. I don't mind responding to a text message. If I got the phone in my hand and the text message come through, why not just respond to it? Like, it's all good. It's never that deep. So yes, just definitely think about all the different things I said. If you have any tips about conquering a healthy work-life balance, I would love to hear them, because I know as Gen Z, we are seen as the hard to work with generation. And I think some of it goes into that work-life balance because Gen Z is known to stand on business when it comes to at home time versus work time, etc. So I would love to hear your thoughts, opinions, etc. And yeah, you guys, like I said, this was a shorter episode because we were getting straight into it, and hope you guys learned something. I hope that you implement these things into having a work-life balance. And really, until next week. Oh my gosh, you guys, next week is episode 10. Like, oh my God, we're 10 episodes. We've been doing this for 10 weeks. That's crazy. But anyways, until next week, bye.